Hi everyone, welcome back to the Gyan Dive. I'm Shaylee, and we're having an episode after a very long time, and I'm extremely honored to have a very knowledgeable guest on our platform today. He has a story that is incredibly varied, and I think it was extremely courageous of him to take this step where he had a computer science degree and he had a tech career, which was a stable option as an immigrant, and he chose to walk away from it towards religion and philosophy, which is something that he was always passionate about. But taking that step is still a big leap. So I'm extremely fascinated with his story, and I hope this will provide value to all of you. This is Professor Pankaj Jain. He's now Professor and Head of Humanities and Languages and the Director of the India Center at Flame University in Pune. Professor Jain holds a PhD in Religious Studies from the University of Iowa, a master's degree from Columbia University, and a bachelor's degree in computer science. Over the course of his academic career in India and the United States, he has published more than 100 scholarly works and authored several books with leading academic publishers. So I am extremely honored to have you today here, Dr. Pankaj. Um, yeah.
Thank you, Shaili. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for reconnecting me with my home state, New Jersey, where my immigrant story began many years back when I landed to Newark Airport from India. And as you alluded to, yes, I was born in India and I did my BE computer science from there. But what I can add is that even though my first bachelor's degree was in computer science, but my study in Indian topics, Indian history, Indian culture started long back in Pali, where I was born, and where I could study Sanskrit in grade 6 itself. And Sanskrit stayed with me, or I stayed with Sanskrit for 6 years, from 6th to 12th, where I did my Pilani, where I did my 12th from.
You're
And then
pretty
I,
like
when I
well versed in Sanskrit by
already
then.
well versed, and I really was enjoying those subjects in India, but I didn't realize that time that this could be a full-fledged career. That is
Right.
something which America blessed me with. So I'm extremely grateful to America, American universities, my professors here, who led me, who advised me, helped me, and guided me that this can be done in this country. Right. So, and how it happened was not really a drastic decision. I had this already foundations very strong, coming from India, right? And then with conversation with my wife, with my parents, her parents, all of us, my brother, we thought that let's take one step at a time. First, as soon as we got our green card, I applied for masters with some great letters of support from senior scholars. I got into Columbia for my masters, and I took some student debt for my master at Columbia, extremely high fees, as you know. So
Right.
I had to go back to IT career. So first Indian traditions, IT, then back to IT, information technology, got rid of the student loan, then back to IT, Indian traditions for PhD. Because as I got rid of the student loan in 1 year after masters, I applied for PhD and got into University of Iowa with full funding. Then I didn't have to look back. So my journey from IT to IT and back, and again back to IT to IT, information technology to Indian traditions is working out fine for me because of the careful planning, careful foundation, strong foundations, great support from family, and of course, blessings from the great universities of this country. So it was a very careful and thoughtful process of decision.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us this introduction. And I know you kind of answered my first question that I was gonna ask, but I'm
Mhm,
gonna ask you still for the listeners.
mhm,
I want to start at the beginning. You had a computer science degree, like you said, a stable tech career, the
mhm,
classic
mhm.
immigrant success story. But what truly made you realize that this wasn't what you wanted? And also, what did your family think when you pivoted from this towards religion and philosophy?
Yeah, I guess part of the process that churning started in me as I was leaving India and as I came to America, I realized what all I'm going to miss in America. Those, great ambience of India, cultural connections, the festivals, the music, the civilizational sites, heritage sites across India. The entire milieu I'm going to miss because I was born and grew up in a very small town with Hindi as my mother tongue. Hindi is the language that I still think in. So all that I'm going to miss. And as I was leaving India, early late 90s, it was also a soul stirring moment for me, because I saw that two North American gentlemen who came to train us in software language called Smalltalk. There is a Smalltalk language. There's a software language called Smalltalk. One came from Canada, one came from US, and they trained it. And as they were leaving, as they were returning back to North America, my HR department at my software company was gifting them Bhagavad Gita and music album of by flute by Hari Prasad Chaurasia and Santoor by Shiv Kumar Sharma. So we were giving our best of our culture to foreigners, to non-Indians. But
Right.
I, as an Indian, that was my moment of enlightenment, in a way that,
Yeah.
as an Indian, have I ever studied Bhagavad Gita? No, I was already 26 at the time. Have I ever listened to Santoor by Shiv Kumar Sharma? No. Have I ever listened to classical Rag Bhairavi or Rag Malkons or Rag Darbari by Shiv Kumar Sharma or Hari Prasad Chaurasia? No. Or Bhimsen Joshi? No. So that was my turning point also. As I was leaving India, I became more serious about Indian heritage. Then as I came to this country and I saw that I can try these one step at a time with great support from family. So like I said, I tried first masters, and then that worked out fine. Then IT, back to IT, then that worked fine. Then back to IT,
Yeah.
that worked fine. So IT to IT, so that worked out.
That's
So
something that I think so many of us can relate to. Like
right,
your generation, our generation alike, like
right,
not knowing these Indian classical
right,
things,
right.
despite being Indian,
Yes.
and that other people have more knowledge of these things than us.
So true, so true.
Yeah.
Yes, 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 yes.
Wow,
Yes.
that's truly fascinating how you made that shift.
Mhm.
And I was gonna ask, like, you said you had support from your family, but it still must have been kind of a big deal
Yes,
when
yes.
you told them about this. I mean,
Yes, yes,
it's a big deal to have this like conviction within
yes,
yourself, first of all, I
yes,
think,
yes.
and then also with your family. So how did you kind of deal with that? How did you grapple with that?
It's just a
How
little
they
bit,
react?
it's just making me a bit emotional. I remember my wife's words that you should not regret years later that you did not pivot, the word that you used.
Yeah,
She did not use that word, but the pivoting must be done now rather than regretting it decades later. So that was her word. So I just amazed at how she said that. And my father was a bit worried that time, but my mother knew me, I guess, more than my father did. And she said, no, you can do it. You will do it and you can do it. And my wife said the similar thing, that you should do it now rather than wait more and regret later. So
that's amazing to
that's
have that
really,
like
yeah.
familial
Yes,
support.
yes. And thankfully, I guess it was our combined destiny that as I was experimenting and leaving IT career, my wife kept rising in her career, kept getting better and better job offers. And so that took care of our financial aspects,
Right.
our mortgage in New Jersey, in Edison, where we
Yeah.
had so that all combined decisions that worked fine for us. Yes.
That's beautiful. And so many kids in our generation feel that
Hmm.
exact pressure to stay on the safe, expected path,
Hmm.
even when like they have other passions that are pulling at them. So,
Hmm.
how did you personally navigate that internal battle? And what would you say to someone who's facing that right now?
So, how to connect better with our culture for your generation? That's the basic question,
No,
right?
no, no. Like when they're struggling with that decision of like whether they
No.
should just
Oh,
pursue
yes, yes,
something
yes, yes,
that's like
yes.
safe and like considered the normal
Right,
path and
right,
like
right, right.
taking their passion
Yes,
to the
yes.
forefront.
That will take, yeah, that's a great question. And that will really take, so again, I can connect with my boys, but I can think of my boys, how they chose their career, right?
Right,
So for both of them, thankfully, I never forced my subjects on them. I never forced them to go to liberal arts, study religion, philosophy. No, never. What was their passion? What subjects excited them? So
right,
my oldest son was great in programming and building
right.
stuff and doing all these tech work.
Mm-hmm.
So he chose for himself IT career and he's enjoying it. IT with finance. So fintech is what he chose and he's doing
Right,
pretty good. My youngest son didn't have any clue what to do, but as he went to his 11th grade in a local a school called Texas Academy of Math and Science right here in Dallas as part of UNT, there he discovered that his real passion lied in biology. So now he's a pre-med student. So they have to discover their passion, their interest, what subjects excited them most, what subjects gave them the best grades, where they really found their passion, which lab, which subjects, which courses. So I never forced my choices on them. And similarly, my wife was a very good artist, a painter. So she developed a career of design,
Wow.
manifesting her design skills, painting skill in IT. So she developed a career in UI UX design. So
Which is kind
everybody
of
has
like
to,
an in-between, like
right.
not just like fully my passion, but also
Yes.
something that's like sustainable.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Which sustains our own interest, our own careers, but
Right.
also our families. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes. Yes. Mhm. Good questions. Yes.
Yeah. Um, you eventually moved from America back to India on top of the career pivot. Most
Right.
people are terrified of even the smallest deviations from their expected path. In
True.
your view, what's the actual cost of not pivoting towards something that truly calls to you?
Right. 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 Yes. If like I said, like my wife said, that if you don't pivot now, if you don't take this decision now to change your career from IT to IT, right, information technology to Indian traditions, you might regret later, right? So the
Right.
cost of not pivoting, we might not realize at the moment we are hesitating, but the cost might appear years later when we regret that I could not follow my heart, I could not do my interest, my passion, I could not follow my passions as I could have done much better in that career which I abandoned. So
Right.
that regret should not come later. So that's the
Yeah.
biggest cost, I think, right?
Great advice.
Mhm.
Um, Now more on to like our listeners, probably like our audience. So there's
Mhm.
a huge chunk of our generation, Indian, Hindu, born here or raised between both
Mhm.
worlds, like your son and like myself. Like
Right.
I have a mixed background of growing up here and in India.
Right.
So we all, even though we have mixed exposure to both places, feel they feel disconnected from their roots. So we all like do yoga, we celebrate Diwali, but sometimes some kids can't even tell you what the Gita really says, which is not just kids, but even adults. Like probably
Mhm.
like you said,
Yes, yes.
they don't have a clear insight into it. So where does this journey of reconnection begin? How can we truly reconnect to our roots when we've not been given the necessary exposure for it?
Yes, yes. So the way we did with our two boys here in Texas now is that I guess I kept nudging them to keep asking questions, or even I would keep asking them questions. And when they said, I don't know, I said, I don't know is not allowed in this house. You have to figure out the answer, do your own research, and we'll have discussion around the dinner table. So no question is a wrong question. And as we discuss, it is never a one-way traffic.
Right,
As they come up with their answers and their perspectives, it's a great learning for me because I don't have
right.
full perspectives that you and your generations, young
Yeah,
people are what you all are thinking. So
yeah.
it's a two-way traffic, two-way discussion. And every dinner table, every trip that we took, we went to some road trips we took, all four of us together, wherever we went for vacation, every vacation became a very healthy discussion trip throughout the journey.
That's beautiful.
So those discussions helped all of us better. And no question is the wrong question. No question is so, the uh, the skill is to keep asking questions. So words that you just
Curiosity.
used,
So you think,
curiosity,
yeah,
and the words that you used just now, Diwali, Gita.
yeah,
Gita. Now let's go to the root of the word Gita. Gita means what? Gita means simply a song. Geet means song.
right,
Well, how can a song be so important for the entire Hindu diaspora across the world? Why? What is so special about that word? What kind of a song it is? Why is it called a song?
right.
Right? Why is no scripture in the world probably is called just a song? Bhagavad
Yeah,
Gita, divine song. What kind of a song? Who sang it? For whom? Why? Where? When? That would connect us with the Mahabharata. That would connect us with the great values that the Bhagavad Gita carries. Similarly, the word Hindu itself, even the very word Hindu, where does this come from? If we
right,
go to the etymology of the word, Hindu comes from the river Sindhu, which is not even in India anymore. Most of Sindhu River, Indus River, is in Pakistan. It
right.
originates in Himalayas, but it
Yeah,
flows across to Pakistan. Right? So why is that Hindu? Why is a river so crucial for an entire civilization, for an entire diaspora? So that kind of questions, I think, may connect us better with the Indus Valley civilization. The other river that got dried up there, Saraswati, what was so special about that civilization? Why people had to migrate from Indus Valley to North Gangetic Plain, and so many other questions. Historical narrative will come to you. It'll be a process of self-discovery, self-journey, your own journey to your own roots.
Right.
So
So
that
it's
could be a
just
good way to start.
curiosity is the biggest key here.
Yes, yes.
And
And
where,
ask your parents, and parents should ask kids. Everybody should,
right.
nudge this
Yeah.
curiosity among each other. Yes.
And what are like some good sources to turn to when we don't really have the right, correct like there's so much knowledge available, like you said, but
Mhm,
what are
mhm.
some like good sources that we can turn to in those times?
Right, right. So in my case, that's a huge, oceans and oceans of
Right.
Hindu civilization. I call Hindu civilization as the world's longest, largest, oldest library of libraries. Why? Why? Because we just don't have one language library.
Right.
Every state has its own language. Every language has its own library.
Right.
Gujarati text, thousands and thousands and thousands. You could probably come from Gujarati
Yeah.
background. I met your
Yeah.
father a few years back. So yeah. So Gujarati library. Before north of Gujarat, Rajasthan, my home state, Rajasthani library.
Right.
North of Rajasthan, Punjab, Punjabi library. North of Punjab, Kashmiri library.
Right.
All kinds of texts, poetry and literature, philosophy, history,
So
architecture, art
incredibly
history,
rich. It's so incredibly
incredibly rich. So many classical languages, Tamil, Telugu, Bengali. So it's a lab, and our people, as Professor Sheldon Pollock, who still I think is in Colombia, he wrote a book. He called South Asian Indian civilization as the most literate civilization, because the amount of literature that we produce for thousands of years is unmatched in human history. So much literature. So I mean, these are not my words. Professor
right.
Sheldon Pollock. So that kind of connections, for to connect with such a literate civilization, we need backbone of languages. That's the prerequisite.
Yeah.
So start there and then do your own research. Ask your parents to do their research. Have these conversations. Is how we did it in our family.
Could you explain the importance of language and knowing these like Indic languages? Because
Mhm.
we can translate these texts into English, but oftentimes the essence of it is lost. So
Right.
what do you have to say about that?
Uh, yeah, that's true. That there are many translations of each of our texts. Bhagavad Gita is probably the most translated text in the world. Is
Right.
probably the Bhagavad Gita. So many translations,
Yeah.
even within India, even by Indian scholars. So
Right.
many translations, and that could also be very confusing depending on the philosophical context one the translator takes. It could be non-dualistic translation, dualistic translation,
Yeah. The different
devotion-oriented
schools.
translation, activism-oriented translation, and so on. I don't think you need to get bogged down so much in those variations, otherwise it will be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Maybe start with an academic translation. The one that I used for my series on the Bhagavad Gita was by Winthrop Sargent. He did not take any philosophical bias. He just did it literally. So that worked out well for me, right? So uh, that could be one beginning, first step to start your journey could be the Bhagavad Gita with that translation, and don't just read cover to cover in one day, right?
Yeah.
Take one step, take
It's
one
not a
verse and
novel.
one step.
It
It's
can be
not
read
enough.
like multiple times and like
Exactly.
it's
So
always going to have a different like meaning.
yes, and start small, start humble, and take one step at a time. Yes.
Excellent advice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Um, so yeah, you've studied the Hindu Jain diaspora pretty deeply for your book Dharma in America. In your observation, what's the one thing second generation Indians tend to abandon first, and
Mhm.
what's the cost of that abandonment that people don't realize until much later?
That's a great question. That's a very serious question and very critical, crucial question for all of us, for parents, for first generation, second, third, and future generations. One thing I would say is, in a big way, probably not so much with Gujarati families, but with mostly other non-Gujarati Indian families, what I've seen at least,
Yeah.
is that the loss of language. Languages are getting lost in so fast that, yes, we do take kids to Sunday schools and we make them do some rote learning and so on. But as they come to college age, the touch with language starts fading away. And
Increases.
as languages fade away, their connection to their culture also starts fading away. And the cost is not immediate. Cost comes much later, when people of your age, when you will become parents, when
Right.
you have to instill values or cultural ideas into your future generations. That may be the time of regret. Oh, if I would have kept my language connection strong, I can also now transfer these values to my next generation as my parents try to do the same. That's
Right.
one cost, huge cost. Second cost is when people of your generation might sometimes feel like guests at their own family gatherings. And you might feel difficulty in connecting with your grandparents. How do I have communication with
Right.
grandparents if I don't know the language? So those are
Yeah.
the real costs, right? But so what we have to do as a solution for these problems is probably we have to look at other immigrants. And Hispanic community, Latino community is a great example, because what they did is they ensured that Spanish is taught at every level across the country, elementary, middle, and high school and college. Spanish is all everywhere.
Right.
So just as we have succeeded in ensuring Diwali as an official holiday in New York, New Jersey, California, and elsewhere. And so Diwali is a great connection to our culture, not just for Hindus, but also for Jains, for Buddhists, and for
Right.
Sikhs. Similarly, now the time has come that we also must be very actively involved in ensuring that Indian languages are taught across all levels, across all states in the entire country. That would take a lot of work by our community leaders and so on, but that would be a good prerequisite for all of us to keep connecting with be always connected with our culture and civilization. So
And
that could be
and
one
it's
concept.
never too late to learn. I feel like language is
Yes,
something
yes,
that
yes,
we should
yes.
it should be on us to like take upon and like kind of like learn, have an interest in it and like learn.
Yes, 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 yes. Because what we lose is not just words, it's the feeling that we could be guests at our own family gatherings.
Yeah,
That should never happen.
it's very
Right?
true. So let's dive a little bit into the Gita.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so at the Gita's core, Krishna is telling Arjun to stop overthinking and act according to his dharma or swadharma. But our generation is drowning in options, identities, career paths. Nobody handed us a clear, like, swadharma. So how does swadharma actually work when you don't know what your dharma is?
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, that's a great question also. So to dharma is not asking, dharma stops asking who you are and starts asking what is ours to do. What can I do to practice my dharma
Mm-hmm.
in a way that connects with my swadharma, my own dharma? How can it connect with my swabhava, my nature?
Hmm.
And what is my duty towards me and people around me? Swakarma. So swadharma, swakarma, and swabhava. All three are like a trinity, like a tripod on which the entire personality should rest on. Swadharma, swabhava, nature, and swakarma, my duty. So dharma is about realigning or aligning my action, my duties, my career in tune with my nature, swabhava. That would inspire me to practice my dharma better and better in tune with my intrinsic nature and to take care of the entire planet, hopefully. So
So
that's the way to do.
what are some like practical steps to get there to really learn about your swadharma? And if you could give us some insight from your own life, maybe.
Right, right. So yeah. So one thing we have to remember is that we are not living in Krishna and Arjuna's time where
Exactly.
Arjuna could be told that you are a
Right.
Kshatriya warrior, so go fight.
Yeah.
Even though he was born in a Kshatriya Kul warrior lineage, but he was asked to fight to kill his uncles and teachers and relatives even, not just because he was a warrior Varna, Kshatriya Varna, but because his attributes, his qualities, his passions matched best with warrior qualities. He was warrior not just by his varna, but by his character, by his qualities, by his skills and training, and so on.
Right.
So something like that we have to also inspire us to always remember what are my best qualities. When do I manifest my qualities best? In
Right.
which subject? Was it biology? Was it art? Was
Mm-hmm.
it math? Right? Was it sports? Was it music? Where I manifest fully 100%, where I can really spread my fragrance around me the best. So when I went to, reminding me of my Columbia days, when I used to sit with Professor Bob Thurman and Professor Gary Tubb, I still revere them. It was just one of the best moments of my life. My face was lit up as I heard those Sanskrit words after a gap of computer science and other subjects that I had to do for my
Right.
bachelor's. I could not do Sanskrit career in India, but I could do it at Columbia.
Right.
Well, that just revived my whole personality so much. And after the class, as I came out once, I remember Professor Jack Holly was standing there outside the class. He was waiting for his next class. Holly told me, Pankaj, what is happening? You're beaming with joy. So that joy, where do you get the most joy? I got in Sanskrit classes. Where do you get your joy? Is it music? Is it sports? Is it tennis? Is it right math? So like my boys found their calling somewhere
Right.
else. So that's how you need to develop your dharma, lead that into your career, that is swakarma. And that, of course, has to match with your nature, with your sabhava.
So diving into self-discovery, basically knowing yourself enough.
Extremely mindfully, yes. Be extremely carefully, mindfully observe yourself. How I'm living this life? Am I wasting life, or am I really manifesting my intrinsic qualities? Intrinsic qualities
Right.
better.
And where am I able to utilize my talents in the
Yes.
best way possible that could
Yes.
also eventually be able to help the
Yes.
world?
And to develop my career and to help the world. Yes, I absolutely correct. Yes.
That's
Yes. Yes.
beautiful. Um,
Oh, one thing if I can add,
yeah.
dharma word itself. Again, like I always tell you and other and everybody around me that let's go to the root of the word dharma. Dharma comes from the Sanskrit root dhri, to sustain. What sustains me the most? What
Mm-hmm.
sustains me the best? What flourishes, in what way I flourish the best?
Right.
So flourishing and sustaining. Sustaining is the root of dharma. So if I sustain myself, I would sustain my career, my family, and eventually, hopefully, entire planet in my with my actions. So let's
That's a
remember that
great
also.
insight. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay. Um, so Krishna also talks about three paths, Jnana, Bhakti, and Karma Yoga. In your
Mhm.
experience, which path tends to resonate most with young people today? And also, which one do you think they need the most in today's day?
Yes, 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 yes. So this generation, I think, is really great in being very productive, very creative, result
Right.
oriented, right? But what we are, I think, starving for is the understanding, the jnana, and the feeling, the emotional connect, the bhakti. So
Mm-hmm.
that is the two legs of the tripod seems to be a bit weaker than the path of action,
Right.
productivity, creativity, career, and so on. So it's not a menu that we can choose from, that should I choose jnana or karma or
Of
bhakti? No,
course.
it's an intertwined. All three are needed, hopefully in healthy balance. That is the way to practice and to find your true calling. All three in tandem, in and intertwined with each other.
They're all
Right?
just interconnected, and
Interconnected, intertwined.
you have to
Yes.
focus on all of them. You can't
All
just
of them. Yeah, yeah. Exactly. That's the full all-rounded personality. Otherwise, it'll be difficult at mental level, at physical. It might be difficult connecting with others and so on. So
right.
with bhakti is not just being a devotee to a lord or to divine figure, but also to develop emotional side of your personality. Gyan, to develop the discernment side of your personality. And action, of course, we are already very active and productive. So
Right.
that's probably taken care of, karma yoga. So Gyan, karma, and bhakti. Yes, all three.
So there's one like famous tenet of the Gita that we all
Mhm.
know about, most of us know about, so that you have the right to perform your prescribed duties, but you're not entitled to the fruit of your actions.
Mhm.
So for a generation that's been told to chase success, metrics, and validation, how do you actually internalize that teaching without it becoming an excuse for not trying? Like, where is the fine line? If you can
Right,
say
right,
that.
right. So I think the Bhagavad Gita, what teaching that at least I learned, at least I understood, is that you are not allowed to slack off. Right? You're allowed to stop being terrified of the outcome. You can't be just be always anxious about the outcome. For example, this interview that we are conducting,
Yeah.
right? I hope we both are enjoying. But if we are terrified of the outcome, how many views we'll get on our YouTube
Right.
channel, that should not affect our this moment where we are
Yeah.
actually trying to put the best of our thoughts, best of our actions right here. So that's the one way to look at it, right? So it's not about so it's not about being always anxious about the results. It's about being in the moment and enjoying this moment, putting your full heart, mind, and soul into this moment with full passion, with full enthusiasm. That's the way to practice that line, that verse from the Bhagavad Gita. I think.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for that.
Mhm.